What's up, studs and studettes? Appreciate you guys. I've been seeing the ratings and the reviews come in. I've been kind of hounding you guys for the last few episodes to get those done. Maybe not this one, but on one of the upcoming ones, I'll start to read some. But we've increased significantly over the last month or so. And I know it's because I've been a pain in your ass asking for them, but it's why I do what I do here to get this in front of more people. And the more ratings and reviews we get, the better off we are. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. Today's guest is somebody who, I mean, we've probably crossed paths indirectly every day for the last 2 years, probably.
At least 2 years, yeah.
But Tom Reber is somebody that I relate to from a passion of helping people, a passion of helping contractors specifically overcome the challenges of scaling and mindset and approach, and ultimately trying to help people become profitable and happy in their lives, not just good business owners, but happier people. And we obviously have we have some similarities, and there's a lot of things that we probably talk about a little differently as well, just based on our perception, our background, our experiences, and that sort of stuff. But Tom, man, thank you for finally getting on.
Well, what's up, you big stud? That's like the perfect name for your podcast, too.
Isn't it,
now, we've never met in person, but you're
No, we
pretty
haven't.
jacked, man. You're pretty jacked. So how tall are you?
I'm like 6 foot.
You're 6 foot? All right. So you seem like you're like 6'6" or something.
Everybody says that. They say
Yeah.
when you meet me in person, ironically, I used to be over 300 pounds.
Okay.
So I'm like 235-ish right now. But I carry it. It makes me look bigger.
Well, that's what people say about me, too, when they meet me in person at an event. I'm 5'10".
Yeah.
And if I put a little more gel in my hair, I can hit 5'11". So it's like, but yeah, man, it's funny. Everybody always says that, man, I thought you were taller. I met a bunch of friends and clients at one event in person for the first time. These guys were all like 6'4", 6'6", and I'm taking a picture with them and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, but yeah, I'm about 205 pounds, 5'10". I got to get down to 195, my Marine Corps playing weight. That was a long time ago, but I'm not far from it, man.
It's when most of our content is from the belly button up, it's easy to look.
That's right. That's right. Oh man, no, it's good to be here. And like I said before you hit record, dude, I'm super proud of you. I never met you, but I just, I see a lot of people come and go. You probably see a lot of, and I'm talking like profiles on social media and shit like that. That's all I'm talking about at this point. But you see a lot of guys, start something and they post 5 or 6 times and then they just kind of fizzle out. Right. And I it's at least 2 years that I know that you've been just hitting it hard and showing up, like we say, like show up like water, water just keeps finding a way to win. And so I'm just proud of what you're doing, man, and how many people you're helping. And I really appreciate you having me here today.
No, I appreciate it. Like, as I'm sure making your transition into the coaching world, it's not easy. You deal with a lot of, friction on the front end to an extent from people, and a little bit of that personal mindset approach of like, is this actually going to work? Can I build this? And obviously you've built a very large team of coaches and clients and everything, but guys like you kind of paved the way for guys like me. You proved that it was possible to an extent. Right. And
yeah,
we were kind of talking about before we recorded too. And like, this isn't a knock on anybody, but I've met so many business owners that I was like, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
And it wasn't so much that they're bad, but it's like, I know I'm good. And if that person can pull it off, I can pull it off. And everybody's path is a little different. Everybody's approach is a little different. But ultimately, seeing guys like you win, gave me kind of permission to believe that I could win as well, because it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
And I'm sure, I don't know about you, but COVID, hurt my business a little bit just from people being uncertain about what was going to happen. But I think on the back end, I think it was one of the best things that's happened from helping people realize they needed to change the way they were doing stuff. So since COVID, it's been great, but it's not always easy pushing through, especially when you're building, I am the product and the business, just like you are, right? Especially early on. Now you have coaches and stuff, so it's a little bit different, but which I'm working towards, because you just run out of time, it's exhausting,
It's funny this is not Tom and Mike playing the little mini violin looking for sympathy here, guys. But as a coach, one of the hardest things as a coach, I'll step outside of you and I. My fiance, the Queen, her name's Leah. I call her the Queen. She she's been a hunter jumper, show jumper trainer for years in the horse industry. Like she was a top rider for many years. She's been coaching riders. She's amazing. And her success as a trainer comes down to, first and foremost, the rider doing what the rider was coached to do, and then whether or not a 2,000-pound animal wants to cooperate. All right. So there's a lot of things. And it's similar what we're doing, Mike, as a coach and helping people. It can be really tough that you can bring the heat with somebody. You can open their eyes to, my God, I'm not charging enough, or this is how I need to rebrand my business or be a better leader, or whatever it is. But it ultimately goes into their court to actually implement the shit. And that was probably one of the hardest things in the beginning for me many years ago when I started coaching guys to figure out that dance, because I don't believe I can make anyone do anything. I don't believe I can motivate anyone to do anything. That comes from within. I can inspire you. I could light the fuse a little bit. But ultimately it's going to come down. Are you going to get up and do the shit day in and day out that it takes to win? And so that was a big adjustment in the coaching industry. But I tell you what, man, when those moments when you see the light bulb go on with somebody and you get a text that they're out of debt, or you get text that, man, your coaching saved our marriage, or whatever it was. Like, there's so many cool things about being able to help people. And ultimately I started the contractor fight just to bring respect and dignity back to the trades. And that really, I guess our wheelhouse is the 6 inches between your ears. Everything else is math. The math's easy and all that other shit. But if you don't think right, then you're hosed right from the get-go.
Well, I mean, and I'm sure you say this a lot, business is business. Some people try to overcomplicate and say, my world's different. You wouldn't understand what I'm going through in my world, in my market. But there are certain things to business that are just formulas. It's the mindset that talks you out of doing things, or slows you down, or messes you up, or puts the wrong perspective, or whatever it might be. And I always tell people I basically turn into a business therapist, because most of my world is still one-on-one. I love the one-on-one world.
Yeah.
There's plenty of great groups out there. Yours is one of them. But I kind of just committed to I'm going to be the one-on-one guy. And is that going to limit me? Maybe, but I have a lifestyle that I want to attain that I can do through one-on-one coaching, and I'm good with that. And I'll have events and stuff, and we're going to talk about yours here in a minute, but basically turn into a therapist. People come to me because they end up trusting my advice in all aspects of life, and which is good and bad. It's kind of a responsibility that I take very seriously, which is why I have to show up every day and represent what winning looks like, and be the example, the lighthouse, the pillar, whatever you want to call it, for my audience, just like you do. And that comes with a lot of responsibility. Again, we're just being honest. This is just the reality of it. And
that's why you're crushing it right now, though, because you take it seriously. I've known a lot of coaches through the years that they just go, oh, there's this industry and I have this knowledge and I'm going to come in and half-ass this thing. But I think the reason that you're exploding right now and having so much growth, and I mean, I'm seeing the shit that you got going on, and to some degree, I don't know everything behind the scenes, but that's because you care so much, and that's, to me, that's the sign of a good coach sometimes, is that sometimes we care more than they do.
Most of the time.
It shouldn't be that way. And I've had coaches that probably cared more than I did about something because they could see around the corner, right? They knew what was coming. And that's why they were so passionate about it, or whatever. And that's why guys like you and I are so passionate about stuff, because we know, what's that parable, 3 feet from gold or whatever, or diamonds or whatever. I think that's where the guy stopped digging. I truly believe that most contractors, most business owners, most people for that matter, are just a couple solid decisions and actions away from turning shit around so quickly and having a totally different life.
You're just shut up and listen. Just stop arguing. Just shut up and I can see what will happen for you if you just listen and implement and stick with it longer than 30 days. Just please, for just the sake of God, please just shut up and listen. You're paying me for my advice. Stop arguing with the investment.
Yeah. I had a guy years ago. And in our world, listen, everybody approaches shit different, but in our world, in the fight, we believe that the fastest way out of the financial gutter, the fastest way to turn things around money-wise is get 50% or better of gross profit on your projects. And we do it. We have home builders doing it, remodelers, plumbers, painters, doesn't matter. Because you will sell what you believe you can sell.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but that's just, and I understand there's outliers, and the outliers are the people that actually know their numbers, and they have a marketing budget, and they have a budget for their company, and they understand their break even. But for the average contractor doesn't know shit about his numbers, we're like, what's it going to cost you to do the job? Multiply by at least 2 and sell it there. And then after you get kicked in the dick a few times on the job, you'll shake out at like a 43% gross profit because you were over budget or you miss, and it's a learning thing. So anyway, so I just set the tone for that. So I had this one guy, he's like, he wouldn't raise his price. He was just chickening out. He's being a wuss about it. And so I said, I'll tell you what, here's the deal. And I was like, you freaking out. I'm like, God, I was screaming at him on a Zoom or GoToMeeting call a million years ago. I said, here's the deal, man. The next project that you have to price up, I want you to bid and sell it to get a 55% gross profit. All right. And here's the deal. I want you to have the guts to do it. And if you don't win the job, because we did some sales training with them and shit too. I'm not stupid, right? Yeah. I said, if you don't win the next job at a 55% or better gross profit, I will write you a check for whatever you told the customer the job was. And then I was hoping it was like a $2,000 job, right? So anyway, not a $50,000 job. And so that's what he needed though. He's like, all right, whatever. And he came back, called me like a day later. He's like, you're not going to fucking believe this. I'm like, what? He's like, I sold a job for more than 50% gross profit. I said, no shit. There's tens of thousands of guys around the world doing this, you dumb fuck.
Yeah,
like,
you're not going to believe this. Of course I believe it. I've been telling you to do it for weeks, if not months.
Well, it's like you're wearing a First Form shirt right now, Andy Frisella's company, right? It's like when people go, Andy or anyone in the health industry says, hey, you want to lose weight, bring in less calories and burn more calories on a regular basis for a period of time, and you're going to cut weight, right? And then when somebody actually does it, they're like, oh my God, it works. It's like, it's the same shit, guys. It's not, like you said, Mike, at the beginning of this, there are some universal laws and concepts of all businesses. Like the first one is one of my business partners, Steve Schinholzer in our sales academy. His rule is if something costs you $1, charge $2. Right. That's it. Like that's a law. It's simple. Or if you want to break it down even more simple, don't spend more than you bring in as a company. Let's just start with that. Right. Leadership law. Don't be a douche. Right. Like care about your people. I mean, there's so many universal laws, in business that if the average contractor got his head out of the hole long enough or, looked up from the saw now and then and actually paid attention to his business, instead of just trying to be a craftsman, which is noble. It's awesome, right? I love the trades. But if you're going to start a business, the minute you said, I'm now Tom's Carpentry or whatever my company is, you've given up the right to be a craftsman first. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. So that's why you and I do what we do.
For sure. But I mean, so what kind of initially had me reach out was I saw you post about your Mile High Profit conference in Denver in September. And I was reading through your landing page, and I mean, the story you were telling is absolutely spot on, right? I mean, there is between material volatility, lack of access to material and equipment right now, the ability for, even if you sell a project to the perfect client at the perfect price, your cash flow is still going to get fucked because projects can't get completed on the same timeline that you're used to. And I truly believe we're going to lose 20 to 30% of our industry in the next 2 years. Because people are losing money on projects and not able to win projects as regularly. And the projects they are winning are going to take longer, which is going to crush their cash flow, right? So if you're not running profitably last year, next year is going to suck for you because you've just been playing catch up the whole time. So I'm all in on that concept there. So talk a little bit about the conference, why you're doing it, what your approach is, what someone might get if they're going. From a knowledge perspective, because I truly believe there are people right now that don't realize how in trouble they are because there's like, oh, I'll make it up on the next one, which is a very common mindset that will in today's ecosystem, when you get $100 for a sheet of plywood and you went from a 3 to 4 day lead time to 6 to 8 week lead time on the
Right.
material you need. When you're used to just going and picking it up off the shelf and now you got to wait 8 weeks to get it, your cash flow is going to be destroyed over the next, whether you win projects or not. So you better have a solid material pricing adjustment clause. You better have a solid draw schedule. But ultimately, none of it matters if you're not profitable. So you obviously have a very big mindset on this. It's something you talk about a lot. And obviously, you put all the work into planning a conference for it, which bravo to you, sir, because planning events like that is not fun. So talk, what's your mindset on that? How are you supporting people? How are you coaching people up to protect them? Because it's going to get ugly before it gets better for sure.
Yeah, it's and when you and I talk about it's going to get ugly, I want to be clear to people that we're not pessimistic guys, right? We're realists. Yep. And the reality is, no matter what you do, if you have a mission in the military, you got a game plan as a football team, you got a plan for a business, you're going to step in the ring with Mike Tyson, right? Everybody got a plan until they get hit in the face. So, I mean, that's the thing. And so I don't expect bad things to happen. I don't expect necessarily to get punched in the throat and all this other stuff, but I'm not surprised when things happen. And so that's where we're coming from, guys. If you're listening, this isn't like, oh my God, the sky's falling. There are just certain things, like you could do everything right in your business and there's still things that are uncontrollable. Okay. And so what we're really about here is just trying to help people control the things that you can control. I believe that profit is a choice. I believe that profit never follows a victim mentality. I think you got to have clarity and discipline and all these other things if you want to be profitable. And so that's really what this event is about. And one of the guys in one of our groups, Steve Spinelli, he's a painting contractor, really good dude. He did some post in our group, and I don't know if he was in his gym hitting his heavy bag or something. And then the caption just said something like, I forget exactly what it was, but it said, you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that old saying. And so that was kind of and I was like, and we were looking at planning an event. We hired this amazing event planner. She's been amazing. And I've got things dialed in and I'm just like, I knew I wanted to do an event, obviously to equip and help people. And really it's the number one goal of the event is actually to celebrate the contractors. Like, we want to pat these guys on the back, these men and women on the back that have been busting their tails. So that's number one goal. Number two is to help them prepare so that they don't have to get ready when, shit hits the fan later. So whether it's, inflation, whether it's, interest rates going up, it's, God knows what's going on politically. Like, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, like shit happens, right? So decisions are made. And, I was in business during the 2008 thing. And I'll tell you, it was one of the things that we were counseled to do at the time. And I'm glad we did is we created our normal budget and plan. And then we created what if we lost half our revenue plan? And because we had that in our back pocket, as challenging as it was, it helped us survive and still be profitable during the recession, even though our revenue was way down. So that's what we want to do here, Mike, is we want to help people really get their mindset right as far as profit goes, that, hey, profit's not a bad word, man. Profit's a good thing. And there's a sequential and we teach there's a sequential or a sequence to being profitable that, if you follow some of these things in order, you cannot be not profitable. Okay. And so, but like you said, either way, something's coming. We don't know what it is. And we talked about
wall though, right? You have people right now who like, whether you're a doomsday prepper or not, which I don't think we are, I think we're realists.
No. Yeah.
Like I've been posing the question to my customers, like, let's use residential real estate as an example, right? If residential real estate transactions brought you a lot of leads, well, right now, because the inventory is so low and people are not negotiating for repairs or anything, they're paying way over asking price. Last year I said, what if there was never another residential real estate transaction? What would you do? right? And so very similar to what you did back in 2007 to plan for the what if. I like thinking contingency planning.
Yeah.
So that when I call it like, the Whiskey Tango Foxtrot plan, right?
Yep.
You got to implement something. You can't start creating the strategy and the game plan with your team when it happens. It's too late because it's going to take you time to build it out. So the concept of losing line of credits because banks are starting to tighten up, not getting access to material. Like right now, if you never got access to lumber again, contractor, what would you do differently to make sure that your business could sustain that situation? Because you might, but here's the point. I think when you get deep into contingency planning, you force yourself to get creative, and you can find very unique and creative ways to run a business successfully or profitably or more enjoyable. Right? Because most contractors get into it because they could do it better than the company they were working for.
Right.
And they don't realize all the other. So they never think of alternative ways to create revenue. They never think of alternative access points for leads and relationships and referrals. And I think when you have to sit down, ideally you have a couple people on your team who are also interested in helping you survive. The creativity can flow when you say, what if? Let's throw everything at the board. And all of a sudden you put some pieces together. You're like, damn, that's a really good idea. Why don't we start that now?
Yep.
And so it's not about the sky is falling. It's about the world is changing, no matter who's at the top, no matter what the environment is, things are going to change. And if you're not thinking ahead, you will get trucked by it.
Yeah. I mean, right now, especially for the newer guys in business or the younger guys, a lot of you don't realize, and I didn't realize this in the early 2000s, by the way, just to be clear. You are in the golden years. You are in the golden years right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if you're not making a shit ton of money right now as a home improvement contractor, I got a news flash for you. This is about as easy as it gets. Like it's easy right now. Like I remember back early 2000s, there was so much equity in people's homes and all this other stuff. Like as long as I didn't go in there and like punch their dog in the face and throw up on the guy's kitchen table, they were giving me a check. Like, and what happened is so many, and I've seen it the last few years, kind of a repeat, is most contractors that go out to sell a job, you're not salespeople, guys. You're order takers.
Yeah.
You're order takers because it's so easy right now. Yes, I understand it's hard to find people and all that employment issue shit. Okay, that we don't need to get into. Okay, but that just is what it is.
Everybody's dealing with this.
Everybody's dealing with
it for status quo and solve around it.
I mean, dude, I just saw an article this morning. I don't know how true it is. I was just skimming through the phone. American Airlines apparently canceled a bunch of flights because of personnel shortages.
Oh, yeah, they have massive personnel
issues.
Yeah.
And everywhere I drive, from a coffee shop to a restaurant. I mean, my stepdad was talking to me yesterday. I called him for Father's Day, and I'm like, he's like, yeah, I remember such and such restaurant. It's been in business 50 years or whatever. He's like, the two owners who were like 70, 80 years old, they're cleaning tables while he's in there today because they can't find anybody. And so every industry is dealing with that, you guys. So this is why profit's so much more important. Mike, one of the things that I've learned is when I'm more profitable, one of our philosophies in the fight is carry a light pack, right? I live in Colorado right by Pikes Peak, and I'd rather climb Pikes Peak with 20 pounds on my back than 200 pounds on my back. I'm only going to bring what I need. I'm not bringing my bowling ball, and shit like that in my pack. All right. And well, there are a lot. So my thing is, if you can't point to an overhead item and share exactly how it makes you money or plays good defense for you in your business that makes you more profitable, it needs to go. Okay. So that's just one of our rules. And most of us have 5 to 10% of overhead shit that we really don't need. All right. So when you carry a light pack and then you're focused on raising those gross profits, yes, it's all about net profit. It starts with gross profit, right? You got to sell at the right price, produce at the right price, so you have enough money left over for overhead and have a net profit. Well, when you raise your profit, and I won't bore everyone with the math equation here, but when you raise your profit, you're actually going to need less people. Okay. And so
because you can do less work and make more money.
Yeah, you do less jobs. But this is going to require you to create a ton of momentum with building your brand and getting the right leads in and stuff. And so many guys, you've seen this, man, you're working one-on-one with people, like they're great at the craft. The jobs they're doing are super profitable. They just don't have enough leads because they're not the champion for marketing in their business right now. And when you don't have enough leads come in, and you can't sell with courage, when you have too many leads, like you guys should have now, you could be selling your work at 50, 60, 70% gross profit because most of your competitors aren't answering their damn phone or calling people back. All right. And they're booked out all this time. But when you build your brand, provide that great experience, you're bold in your sales process, guys, you're going to get the right jobs for the right dollars. Excuse me, my voice is already going. It's morning. And you're going to require less people. So we used to do this. I'll just take an industry like painting because I know it so well. We knew, like if your average job, let's just do this. Let's do some math, Mike. I can't help myself, man.
I think people would
can edit this part up,
but they hear the high level stuff all the time. It's like, how do I actually do this?
So let's just go. Say your average job, guys, is, $5,000. I don't care what you do. All right. And that average job takes you, call it 48 man hours. All right. So if I want to do $1 million in sales divided by 5,000, I got to do 200 jobs, right? Times 48 man hours. I need 96 hours of production to do that. Well, if you divide that by 12, that's 800 hours a month divided by 4.3 weeks in a month. It's 186 hours. So what is that? Divided by 40 hours, you need a team of 4.5 guys. Okay. But here's the cool thing. And that's, say you do $1 million at a 40% gross profit. Well, what if you did $1 million at a 50? Or what if you did 850 at a 50? Or whatever, things work out. When you reverse engineer how many people you need to pull that shit off, what you'll realize is when your profit goes up, your gross profit goes up, you're bidding and selling your jobs at higher rates and producing them at higher rates. A couple things can happen. You can take care of your current people better, pay them more, all right, and give them a path, okay? We call it a mastery ladder where, hey, you start here, you go to here, you go to here, you go to here. And every level you go up, there's some other skills and education that you need that we're going to provide you. So you could provide a better experience and satisfaction for your team, which in turn will make them not leave when somebody's trying to poach them because you're really taking care of them. And this is more than money, by the way. But then you're going to need less people. You're going to need less guys out on the street doing projects. And so I don't know, man, like I said earlier, it's business is 90% between your ears and 10% math. All right. And be unemotional about the math, you guys. The math is what it is. All right. Your break even, like most guys don't even know what their break even revenue point is each month. That's another one. Like if you got
understand that they have like a daily overhead run rate of like what you're burning through.
Yeah. Well, like here's the thing. If your overhead's $25,000 and you're getting a 33% gross profit now, you have to collect and deposit in your bank $75,700 just to pay for the cost of goods, pay for your overhead, and have a zero net profit, just break even. All right. That's 33%. Or you could say, I'm going to bid and sell my work at a 50, and 25,000 divided by 50% is 50,000. So you got to do 25,000 less. And if our average job was $5,000, like we're talking, that's 5 less jobs a month you got to go find.
Because 5 less callbacks and 5 less mistakes and 5 less crews and because more crews is just more problems if you're not a good leader, which you run into, right?
Yeah. Well, the other side of this, and this is where we're unemotional about the math. If in that example earlier, I needed 200 projects a year. Well, if I have a sales closing rate of a 40%, I'll pick a number, I need 500 leads. All right. So
it's a lot of leads.
Yeah. So a lot of guys, they don't understand why they can't get off the hamster wheel while they don't understand why every year they're going to their spouse going, baby, this new year is going to be different. It's going to be a different business this year. I'm going to do things differently. And they do the same shit because they're not a champion of the marketing. So all this shit that we're talking about, Mike, pricing your work right, making a profit stuff. If you don't have leads coming in, like qualified leads that are built on, you're sending the message and telling the story that you want through your brand, it's even more of an uphill climb. But those that are, fanatical about marketing, building their brand, shaking hands, being a great leader on their community, all that other shit, phone rings off the damn hook. And it's the pick of the litter.
It's not challenging. It's not difficult. It just takes consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tom, I want to backtrack a little bit. Like, where did the contractor fight come from? I mean, obviously, like, you've been building it for a long time. You've built a very strong following. You have, you know, somewhat offshoots of the brand now with your sales training names and your, you know, you have all these different things. Where did that concept come from for you, and why is it so important for you?
Well, it came from, and it's important to me because of my journey. You know, I've been on the top, you know, made millions. I've been on the bottom, been bankrupt. And I could tell you it's a lot better to have money. And I just saw, this lack of education for contractors. Like it's, you know, and I think this is something you do well as well, is you and I put out so much free content to educate guys.
Yeah.
And I remember catching a bunch of shit for that in the early days from some people. And they're like, well, when are you going to start charging people? When you got to get people to swipe credit cards if you're going to have a business. And I'm like, this is my marketing strategy is be the best educator. It's that simple. Okay. In any industry, I could start a flooring business tomorrow, and I guarantee you I'd be just as active, if not more, creating content around flooring, right? I'm a big Marcus Sheridan fan. They Ask You Answer, all that stuff. He's a good buddy of ours. Educate people. So, but anyway, I was coaching people, and I started a brand. This is funny. I started a brand called Motor Hard. Motor, it's tattooed on my forearm here. Yeah, real big. It's my personal mantra. So everyone's like, you put your business logo on your arm. I'm like, no. Motor's always been my mantra, like from my football days. Like he's got a motor.
Win fast, win often, right here.
It's right there. Yeah, it's your thing. Yeah. So I'm like, you just got a motor. That's what you do. You keep fucking showing up. You outwork people, and you earn a spot, right? Like that's my mentality. So I started an apparel brand called Motor, Motor Hard. Nobody bought anything because I didn't know what I was doing. This is a long time ago. This is like early, this is like 2010, somewhere in there.
That's real early, like e-commerce 2000.
Yeah. And if I would have started that knowing what I know now about social media and things like that, it would have exploded. Right. Yeah. But I just didn't know. So dude, I wasn't bringing any money in. I'm like giving shirts and shit away, like trying to, you know, anyway, yeah, it was bad. So then this guy calls me up and he's like, hey, can you speak at this event? I know you have a lot of experience with contractors and blah, blah, blah. And you did all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And so I went and spoke at the event, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. I get to stand in front of people and help them. And then another guy tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, will you coach my business? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll coach your business. And so, but I didn't have a coaching business set up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell this story quickly, and it's hard.
No, take your time.
So I just had him write a check to the Motor Group because that was the corporation that I had set up. Right. So then now I'm in business as a coach with this company called Motor Hard, but then I'm coaching contractors, and then we started this Contractor Sales Academy over here. And then my buddy, I don't know if you know Order a Man, Ryan Mickler. Yep. So Ryan called me out on it. He's like, dude, what the fuck do you do? Who are you? That was like late 2016. And I'm
like, way to pull some deep shit out.
Yeah. Yeah. And he did it obviously just directly, but respectfully. And he's a good dude. And I trust him and appreciate what he's built. And so I flew my right-hand guy, Neil, in the fight. It wasn't the fight at the time. I flew him out to Colorado. We got a little Airbnb in Breckenridge. We hold ourselves up, and we rebranded everything, and we walked out of that Airbnb with the contractor fight. And dude, what we really wanted to do, and this is a business lesson for those of you that are listening. You have to give people a cause to rally around. That's what I've learned the most through this. And that's,
people are looking for community as much as anything else.
Yeah. And the most successful companies and movements and organizations are the one that give people a cause. And you can do that with your painting company. You could do that with your building. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. The right people will gravitate to that cause. And so we gave contractors kind of a place to really raise their hand and go, man, I'm tired of not having anything to show for all the hard work I've put in through the years. I'm tired of just having a job. I want to build a future for me. I'm tired of stealing, time and money and memories from my family. And so, dude, that was probably more Neil's doing than mine. Neil's a absolute marketing guru. I don't know if you know what Entreport is, but it's Neil's like written books on Entreport. Entreport's people come to Neil when they need help with the platform and marketing and copywriting. So I'm so blessed. And he's a former remodeling contractor, sold his company for big money. So he knows the industry. I've known him for 20 years or whatever it is. So I'm super blessed to have the guy on my team. And he's actually out here now because we're doing some more planning. So every time he comes out here to Colorado and we plan for a couple of days, we walk out of the room with something epic. Yeah. And so I can't wait to see what the hell we're going to do this week. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool to concept to creation to where you are now, right? I mean, you've coached hundreds, if not thousands of people at this point. Yeah. I'm sure like we're pretty similar. Like we've impacted way more people with our free online content than anybody who's paid us any money. Right. And I'm happy for that. Like there's
that's why we do it.
Everything. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's been cool to just watch, be honest.
Yeah.
And kind of just see, and you blazed a path. I'm kind of blazing my own, somewhat parallel to you, and just we're we have a very similar target audience of sorts. But man,
well, that's the thing, like a lot of times people will be like, well, I literally had somebody say this, like, why do you talk to these other coach guys or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, they're your competitors. I'm like, I'm my biggest competitor.
Yeah.
And I sit here and I look at the millions of contractors that need help. The bottom line is they get help. I don't care who they work with because I have an abundance mindset. Like I've lived in scarcity before and it sucks.
Yeah, it does suck.
Not everyone's going to resonate with me and they're going to, totally have some chemistry with somebody like you or yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I keep going back to that. I think Zig Ziglar said, you help enough people get what they want, you're going to get what you want. And that's why we do the free content. I play the long game. One of our values in the fight, man, is play the long game. Like we're not a transactional, just buy this thing now company. I bet you 15-20% of our annual revenue in the fight comes from people that we told a year or so ago they're not ready for coaching and they just need to consume our free shit for a while.
Yeah.
Because we're playing the long game. Because I don't,
you're also being, but like, I want to just sit there for a second because that's not an average coaching model, right? Yeah. An average coaching model is you're at the front door, give me a credit card, and then I'll tell you what I can do for you. Mm-hmm. I would say take a very similar approach to here's everything I can do for you. If you just sat down and studied my YouTube channel, just like yours, and just implemented what I told you to do, you would not need coaching. The accountability, the group, the atmosphere, the cause is what brings them in. But so many people, like, our goal is to make an impact. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's ready for that impact. Not everybody's ready for that accountability. Not everybody's ready to take the leap into let me accept someone else's advice on stuff. And so I commend you for having that mindset because I think that's what's ruined our industry from a coaching perspective of a bunch of people selling a dream and can't deliver on it. Or don't deliver on it, or are approaching it with the wrong mindset. I'm just there to make money off people who need help, not actually make an impact. It makes like that's the uphill battle that we face. I mean, because we're, I would say, very similarly black-eyed like contractors are, right? We're measured by the lack of success by our predecessors, and it's cool to see somebody doing it the right way.
Well, and there's a lot of us doing it the right way, and I think. I don't know, man. I know you and we're going to put our heads together and figure out something. Cause I want to hang around fucking winners, man. I want to hang around people that are winning and shit. You got win fast, win often on your damn arm. Right. So it's like,
I got my big win hat on.
You got your win hat on, and damn company's called WinRate Consulting. And I mean, like, come on, man, talk about branding. There you go. But like, and listen, man, I want to learn too, like I want to learn, I want to grow. I don't want to be I don't ever want to be the smartest guy in the damn room. That's for sure. Which I usually don't have a problem with, but it's, I just, and I don't know if you felt this way sometimes as a coach that, and again, this is not us like playing the violin, guys. There's no sad story here, but it's like sometimes, Mike, I find myself in a position where everybody's coming to me as the coach all the time, that I have to intentionally call a timeout in my life and go, who am I going to hire to coach me for a while? Like just me personally, so that I'm the student for a while. That's been another thing through the years that I've seen a pattern in myself, that when I start getting jacked up in the head and, just kind of losing some fire or whatever it might be, it's usually because I'm not getting coached. And
I just went through that. I literally hired a new coach like 2 weeks ago because I was realizing, and I have been climbing, I have been growing, I have been getting a bigger influence, and I'm starting to find myself at the front of most of the rooms I'm in. And I recognize that, and I'm like, I have to solve this, because when you pour out for a living, you eventually find yourself empty.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And like, I don't care if you think we're bitching or not, audience, fuck off. Like, it's exhausting pouring out all the time, because we show up, like, there are days I have 10, 11, 12 hours of coaching calls. I'm sure you've been through with your, when you were doing a lot of one-on-one stuff. It's exhausting. Imagine you're listening right now and you have one of your key employees in your office every hour for 12 hours, and it's your job to lead them and give them quality advice and be motivational, inspirational, and be dedicated. It's tiring. And when you don't have somebody pouring back into you, you physically can't be the best version of yourself. And that's just the reality of the situation. Is I show up every day as prepared as I can be, as disciplined as I can be, so that I can have the impact I'm trying to have. But when you don't have somebody pouring into you, it's hard to show up that way every day. It's just the reality of the situation. It just is.
Yep. Yeah. It's, and like you said, this is us just telling the truth. Like, Mike, it's not just sitting down with somebody and giving them advice. This, like you do and I do, a good coach or mentor is going to dig and probe and uncover things and pull out the real issues. That's where you get exhausted.
Yeah.
Is that. In fact, I told you before we hit record, I'm doing a couple projects around the house right now, having some work done. And there was a day that I literally, I was like, I'm going to take the baseboards off in our basement. I'm remodeling Fight HQ. We were pulling the carpet out. We did this concrete stain. I pulled off and put back on my baseboards. Okay, dude, I had so much fun. It was so nice to just get out of the normal routine. So if you're a guy slinging it away with the bags on right now, if you're slinging with the bags right now, you're going, man, I'd love to be able to just have like a couple meetings a day and change it up a bit. So I totally get that. This isn't like every industry. I don't care what you do. There's its challenges and it wears on your ass. You're out in the field, man. That's why I have so much respect for contractors, man. Is like, physically, you got to be a badass with the craft you do. You think about, you got to be strong, flexible, agile, do all these fucking things, move around. Oh, and then by the way, we're going to expect you to know how to be a kick-ass sales guy, a great leader, a marketer, and all this other shit. Like, if you think of the skill set, that's why, Mike, I push so hard for guys to charge more money. I'm like, look at what you're fucking bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing shit that's keeping houses from falling down on people later on and people dying. And, you fix the electricity so that the house doesn't burn at 3 a.m. and shit like that. And yet you're being a wuss about what you need to charge. All right.
And I've been saying this for a long time, and I think this resonates with a lot of people, is you inherently devalue what comes naturally to you. Right. So a contractor showing up and knowing exactly how to build something, or exactly how to fix something, or exactly how to, solve the problem at hand, because it comes naturally to you after 20 years of learning, you don't think there's value in it because it was an easy thing for you to solve. But that's like the most valuable things that you do are those quick decisions that you make in the process and figure out along the way. But it's in general, kind of like putting a bow on this conversation, it's why it's so important for business owners to have a coach. Because if you're like, what got you here is not going to get you there. And as your business grows and your headcount grows and the problems grow and the impact of those financial decisions grows, you need somebody pouring into you so that you can be the best version of yourself, because the lessons you've learned are not always what solve the next problem. And having somebody who's been down that path and through that growth and through those mistakes can help guide you down a path you've never seen before and pour into you so that you can pour into your people, right? Because I mean, I'm sure you've heard it, right? You see like one of your clients talking to their team sounding just like you, and their team's all getting excited and motivated, and you're like, this wasn't that hard. You just finally listened because you needed somebody to pour into you, because, you know, it's okay to realize you've capped in your ecosystem, but your ecosystem's growing. You can't stop it. When you're doing a good job, your thing grows. And if you're not growing ahead of it, it'll absolutely take you over.
Well, this comes back again. One of our values in the fight is get oxygen. And I know you know where I'm going with this. If you've ever been on an airplane, you guys, it's you are no good to your kid next to you if you don't have oxygen going to your brain. All right. And so oxygen, you know, in our world here, Mike, is you got to take care of you and your family. So you got to take care of your health. You got to take care of your mind. You got to take care of your bank account first and all that stuff. And that's not being selfish. You're not being an ogre of a leader. And Mike, one of the reasons I went bankrupt many years ago is I made sure everybody got theirs.
Yeah.
You know, and there were other reasons that were all my fault. I'm not like pointing finger here, but like the biggest lesson I took out of that is I will always get mine first. I'm going to be as strong as I can be personally, because when I am, I'm better for the people under my roof, the people that work for me, my vendors, my partners, all that shit. So that's why we got to get coaching. That's part of getting that oxygen. And I don't care. It doesn't have to be business coaching, guys. It'd be like one of my partners. He went and got some health coaching, and then he went and got some mindset coaching. Then he hired a life coach for a while. It was just to get different perspectives. And what's cool is not only is he better for it, our community and the whole group is better for it because of those lessons that you learn when you get coached. So if you're a business owner right now, contractor, and you're like, it doesn't have to be one of us on this damn thing. Go hire a fucking life coach. Go fire a personal habit of being coached in some area of your life. And I guarantee your trajectory will follow.
No, it's totally right. And I think once you experience the value of a coach, it's hard to not go back to it, right? Like you see like the same people at the events, and like this person's hiring that person now. And there's a lot of that. Once you experience the value of it, it's hard to not like to kind of disconnect from that life force and that fuel. But, you know, I look at selfish, there's two aspects, or two sides of that. There's a dichotomy to selfish. You know, there's a selfish where somebody else is hurting so that you win. But then there's a selfishness where you're focused internally so that you can help more people. When I made that realization and started focusing on becoming the best version of me, everybody got better version of me, which helps everybody become better, because I do have a focus on impacting others. But getting selfish does not always mean others suffer. I think there's a version of selfish.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is not it at all. It's not,
no, it's
I'm
not
going to take care of me and
others.
shove you down. I'm not going to step on you to take care of me. That's not where we're going here. Yeah. Appreciate
I think there's such a negative connotation around being selfish that no, being selfish means taking care of you first so that you can take care of others.
Yeah. Well, dude, there's a parable. I think I heard it like a John Maxwell book or podcast or something a while back about the lighthouse and the guy with the oil. Have you ever heard that? Or did I hear that on your show? I don't know. I heard it somewhere. But basically he needed to be selfish with the oil. He had 30 days worth of oil to light the lighthouse to protect the ships, right? Well, then the little old lady comes and says, it's cold. Can I just have a little oil? And he's got a good heart. And he's like, okay. And then this guy comes and this person comes, and they all have these good reasons. But what the lighthouse guy failed to understand was that the oil was for one fucking purpose. and it was to light that thing, and he ran out of oil and a ship crashed and everybody fucking died, right?
Yeah.
Shit like that. So guys, being selfish, saying no to certain things is not a bad thing. Okay. It is not a bad thing when you're taking care. And in this case, the number one thing to take care of is you. You have to
and we
take
could
care
do a
of you.
whole other podcast on learning how to prioritize the
Yeah.
effort too, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a whole nother conversation.
Yep.
Because if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing or where you're going, it's impossible to prioritize because everything looks like a good idea.
Yeah. Well, we'll get you on my show and we'll have that conversation.
That's a
How's
great
that?
idea.
There you
Dude, Tom,
go,
I
man.
really appreciate it. This was a great conversation. Obviously, like, how does somebody find you? Where do they connect with you? I know you have a podcast, YouTube channel, the event coming up. Like, where should people go to connect with you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Anywhere online, the Contractor Fight. But if you go to thecontractorfight.com, there's info there on the event. And it's September 22nd through 24th in Denver. I want to say one thing. We intentionally know that as a business owner, you guys are not in this alone. Like your spouse might be involved. You might have a business partner, whatever it is. And Mike, so we actually made it a half price ticket to bring your spouse, because sometimes it's so important to have that other part of you or your significant other in the room with you, hearing some things. So I'm really excited about the event. It's going to have a very different flavor. I think it's be a lot. I know it's going to be a lot more heartsy in some ways than people about relationships, not just business, but it's all about being profitable in every area of your life. It's called the Mile High Profit Summit. And man, I really appreciate you having me on today and let me talk about that.
No, dude, guys, if you're in the Denver area or you're interested in traveling September 22nd, I'd highly suggest it. I mean, Tom doesn't half-ass anything he does from what I've seen, and I imagine this event will be no different. And his team is full of just some rock star people. So I have no problem supporting someone else's mission here. Like, I have my own shit coming up,
man.
but this is because, like you said, different flavors for different people. And I think there is a certain amount of getting your inner circle, your wife, your spouse, your husband, your family involved, so they can understand where your mindset comes from. I think being in business is on an island by itself is hard enough. Trying to do it without the people in your home understanding what you're doing or why you're doing it, I think is irresponsible at best. So get your people involved, bring them to this event, have a great time, learn a bunch, get deeper than you may realize you should. I can't wait to see the results and the people and what they take away from this event, Tom. So
I appreciate you, man. That means a lot. Thanks a ton.
Well, connect with them, guys. Show up to the event. As always, win fast, win often, everybody.